Hello, everyone. I can see there's a few more people than before. All have woken up from the karaoke hangover, I see. Yeah, and I'm really happy to be speaking after a talk about learning because we're just going to continue with the learning journey. And I want to talk about the Innovation Incubator. I just like alliterations, so I chose that one. And how we take the German concept of Ausbildung and build on top of that to have a really good, incubator for our trainees to become good DevOps people. So this is me. There's a few pictures of me. I'm Mourek, my pronouns are they, them, and I work as a developer advocate for Isinga. I will be talking about the company and stuff when it becomes relevant later. Basically, I'm the community developer interface and also a trainer at the company trying to teach our new employees how to do the work. So Ausbildung, for those who have not heard of it, it basically just translates to education or training. But, German really likes its compound words. So Ausbildung is made out of two parts, the Aus and the Bildung. And the prefix Aus means out, like come out, outcome, outbound, and the word Bildung is the education, the getting better at something. So if you combine those, it's not just education, but getting something out of education, building on top of education. There we go. So at Isinga, we do open source monitoring. We're an open source monitoring company where we do development, we do events, we, of course, provide support for our software, and we also do custom development for whoever wants to give us some money. We're open source, we're poor. This means that we have a few different specializations within Isinga, and the trainees that we take on are mostly developers, but also sometimes dipping into the event business and organizing things, going and being on COC teams at other events, stuff like that. And we collaborate with Netways. The relationship between Isinga and Netways is a bit complicated to explain. Basically, we share a CEO, we share offices, but we are completely separate companies that have nothing to do with each other, right? And Netways is all about open source in general. So Isinga is part of the portfolio of Netways, but they basically take care of anything that is open source related. And it also has a broader spectrum of things that they do, which includes things like consulting, also events that are on a bigger scope. It's providing trainings about the open source software that we're supporting. We have managed hosting, we have development as well. So the spectrum is a bit broader, and Netways has more different kinds of trainees than Isinga does, and in total, we just take all of the trainees, put them in one bulk together, and have a shared Netways traineeship. Just a bit of context. So Isinga has 17 people employed currently, 3 of them are trainees, and Netways, this is excluding the Isinga people, we are, separate companies, has 72 people, and 9 of those are trainees. So the trainee to full-time employment ratio is still okay. We still have enough people to train the trainees. When I started working at Netways, we were like 40 people, and 7 out of those were trainees, so it was a bit more difficult, but we are settling. So this is our trainees from 2 years ago, I think, because apparently we're really bad at taking pictures of ourselves. So I tried to sort of label them by the official designation of their training course. So we have the developers grouped together over here. We have the more ops-related people, the consultants, and the people working in managed hosting, more in the middle, and a little sprinkle of marketing and administration in between. On average, we take 6 trainees per year, like in the whole conglomeration, across all different departments. And one round of Ausbildung takes between 2.5 and 3 years. So we always have roughly this number of people in training. And what's really cool about the concept is that you get paid to get trained. And the Ausbildung is organized by the Chamber of Commerce. So there is an official setting as well as a governmental setting as well as within the company. This is the most recent picture. This is our current first-year trainees. Once again, a bit of dev, a bit of ops, a bit of sales, marketing in between, and also the trainers that are overlooking them. And how Ausbildung works in practice is that we have a mixed system that is, or a dual system that consists of a school part and a work part. So when you start with 2 weeks of being in school. The school is governmentally funded, and there are a lot of different people from different companies sharing, being together in one class and learning together. And then after those 2 weeks are over, the students are dropped back at their employer, and the employer can basically do whatever they want with those students. If you have a bad employer that is making coffee and doing nothing that makes sense, and we tried our very best to improve what we do with those trainees when they're at the company. I did my Ausbildung 7, 8 years ago now, and for me it was basically just, okay, you are working now. What kind of project could you maybe do that is sort of relevant to the company, and go ahead and learn something. Nowadays, we've built up a lot about that, or on top of that, and I'm really, really jealous of our trainees nowadays, but I'm happy to be a part of it. So after 2.5 years, after 3 years, the whole school and work rotation stops. There's an exam period. Then you have, I think, 1 or 2 or 3 weeks that you are in or are with your employer, and you have to do a project that is relevant to the kind of thing that you're studying. You have a presentation in front of the Industrie- und Handelskammer, the Chamber of Commerce. And if they think you did well, then you get your degree. And this degree is roughly equivalent to a lower university degree. So it's actually a really valuable degree in the German-speaking world. And this is not just for IT. This is for all sorts of jobs. So if you want to become a hairdresser, there is also an Ausbildung for that. If you want to do something with wood, there are different kinds of woodworking Ausbildungs. And the effect that this sort of degree that you get for starting to work is really valuable is that, at least from my experience compared to other countries, is that in Germany, people that actually did their Ausbildung are very valued, and also in jobs that you wouldn't typically expect them to be. But since most of you are not in Germany, you do not have this official system, I will try to give you equivalents or ideas on how to implement that, maybe in your environment. And that is doing the system of actually actively training people for 2 weeks and then putting them into a practice setting where they have to work on a project, on something in 6 weeks, and then get another training, get a focused learning experience, and then put it to practice right afterwards. The mix of those two really helps combining education with practical work experience. So, back to what we are doing, and I added a really small red circle so you know where we are. This is the time scale we're looking at now. And come on. Next. Yes. I would like to drill down on that. So we have the school section, and the school section has a mandated program. We, as an employer, can't change anything about that. But we try to match what the students learned in school to the training that we're doing afterwards. So when they come back from school, from those 2 to 3 weeks of school, we put them through a training course, usually 1 or 2 days. And then they have a project that matches that training course. And every 2 months, roundabout, there's another set of school, and this repeats for the entirety of the first year of their Ausbildung. So in the first year, it is basically just forcing them to learn as much from as many different topics as possible to give like a good broad groundwork. And those are the topics we're teaching them about. So we split it up into 4 parts for this year. So in the first quarter, they're learning about what is Linux, what is VirtualBox, what is this network thing people are talking about, and what is an IP. And also like the first bit of scripting, not really programming yet, but like how do I get things to work on my computer, right? Then in the second part, we have what's a Raspberry Pi. I can actually do things with my scripts, that's cool. Learning about DNS, because we like torturing our trainees as well. I usually take over the Git and GitLab part, so how do we actually work together as a team? How do we do projects? They learn about SQL, they learn about Vagrant, actual programming with like functions and code. Yeah, what is Windows? We put that a bit further back, but it's still good to know about it. And then they get to choose a free project, so they get to choose what kind of topic they want to work together on, or separately if they choose to do so. We have Docker, we have PowerShell, we have Isinga. Well, Isinga is very specific to us, because that's what we do. And then they get to choose another free project, and that is how they spent their first year. You might want to, steal some of those ideas. You might want to think of something that fits your company better. But in general, just a groundwork of broad things to learn, both from a dev and an ops standpoint, and even our marketing people get pushed through that because they're technical marketing. Technically, they are just learning how to do like the social media posts, the graphics, and all of that. But we have noticed that it is really, really, really valuable to have them know about the tech as well, and at least have a basic understanding. And that's what the first year is for. In the second year, the people or the trainees get pushed to their departments where they will stay. They will still get taken out for some trainings and some projects, but they are starting to get into the day-to-day workflow of the department and what they're going to do in the end. And the third year is basically full-time, being in the department, occasionally being pulled out to be a co-trainer. So we take those people from the third year, take them with us to the first year, and present them here. Show us what you learned. Forcing them on stage, forcing them to talk to others. I hope they don't mind it too much. So, like I said, I do the GitLab trainings, and I just want to give you an overview of how like one of those project settings, what it looks like. So the training itself is 2 days. It's the same training course that we offer on our website that you could book to get trained on like how Git works, how GitLab works, and just getting a feel for the technology. Then on the first day, after they get the formal training, they have to find a project. One such project would be, we want to make a cookbook that we can use in the offices. So it's an internal project, but it's something they choose, and they're super motivated to do because it's their choice. So we spend an entire day deciding on a project, and then we split up in different teams, or more like we decide on what kind of teams we need to do the project we want to do. So there is a little design team, there is a platform team, there is a development team. So we think of different teams. And the people decide which team do I want to be in, and I, as the trainer, am going to be the project lead for the first day. Because then we do the work for a day, and then we switch teams. The people that were doing development are now in the platform team. The people that were doing platform are now in the design team. The design team switches over to the development team. And this switch is the chance for them to share what they've learned, teach each other about the stuff that they did in their team, and I will roll the dice, and one of them will become the project lead. One of them will have to deal with distributing the different things that need to be done, checking the issues, and then we do the work, we switch the teams again, we teach each other again, and that goes on for the rest of the 2-week period. It's usually the morning of the last day, which I am not too happy about, that we start on the presentation for the team lead. So the people get to learn a lot, and then in the end, they have to present everything that they've learned to the head trainer or the person that organizes everything. This is a really, really nice method to learn something new, because you get to switch into different roles, you learn your lessons, but you do it in a safe space. This is just an internal project. It doesn't matter too much if you make mistakes, if it doesn't work out. And the most important part of this, I would say, is the presentation. Like, getting the lessons out of it. I don't really care if the product they're working on works out in the end, if the cookbook is working or if it's just a bit of markdown that is being displayed in the browser. I don't care, but I want to see the presentation. I want to see what they learned. And I think it was just last week that a trainee that I did that with 3 years ago approached me and was like, today was the day that I took on my first project, and I immediately knew what not to do. And that is what I'm trying to go for. So all of the different topics that I've had on, oh, that's a lot to switch back. Just imagine the 4 blue boxes with the topics on it. All of those are set up in a similar way. So there's a bit of training in the beginning, and then the people can work on a project they've chosen, they're passionate about, in a way that is safe for them to learn something new and is safe to make mistakes. So we have a lot of internal projects that involve very little risk. The practice runs for things that will have to be done eventually when they're fully employed. But until then, they run it with very little risk. And they get new perspectives. Like the marketing people are sitting there with the developers trying to code. The developers are sitting there with the people that are learning to be administrators. And they have to set up a platform. And that way, in the first year, everyone does a bit of everything. And this helps them figure out their own strengths and figure out what they want to do when they're finished. Because usually when you're training to be a developer, you do the developing, you have no idea what the admins are doing, you have no idea what marketing is doing, especially marketing. And this way, they can figure out, maybe the tech world isn't for me, maybe I actually want to do marketing, that was fun. Or the marketing people are like, oh, it is not as scary as I thought it was. We've had people that tried to get into marketing, and they realized tech isn't that scary. I can do that. Can I do that? Yeah, I'm going to switch. And that also creates an understanding of each other's functions in the company and what you have to do, the responsibilities. And to build on top of that, we also have weeks of department rotation. So that is like a 1 to 3 week little program where we take the trainee and put them into another department, do your work there. It was very scary for me for the first time to sit at the front desk and get calls like, this is not working. You deleted all of my data in the hosting. How dare you? What am I going to do? And it made me respect the front office a lot more. And just getting to know the structures, getting to know how things work, knowing who to ask for a problem, because you work together with them. You know they have their strong suit in this department. They are really good at writing code, even though they're an admin. So if I have a question about this, I can go there and ask them. Just knowing the people in your organization, knowing the structures helps a lot, because you have that organigram, or what it's called, with the nice lines, and this person is responsible for this person, but it doesn't really click with you until you see it yourself. Yes, I should also use the slides that I built. And it's also, it helps interface later, because you know the struggles that they are having, and you know how to build your software in a way that is easier for them to use. How to build your platforms in a way that is easier for them. You don't have to have a 5-hour conversation at the start of a project because you already worked with them. You know what they need. And you felt their pain working with your software, with your tools. So it basically benefits the entire company. If you just, for 1 year, yeah, it costs a bit to have a trainee do basically nothing. But it brings so much value if they keep those people around. We also do a lot of team building with those trainees. They have, I should also not overuse the slides I built. They have an entire weekend of activity together. I think it's just in the first year where all of the trainees from the first year, I think it's like 3 months after they started, they just get some sort of team building exercise, team building weekend together. I have a picture of it later. There are self-organized dinners on like company money. So if the trainees manage to pick a date and time, have their lunch or dinner together, and then bring the receipt afterwards, they get paid for that. I think it's a once every quarter a year for that. But just being able to organize yourself creates relationships in the teams and also creates relationships across the teams. Because, as I've said, the trainees are in all sorts of different, well, will end up in all sorts of different roles. And to have a friendship between marketing and development is probably a good thing to have in general. Like, yeah, across different areas. It removes the barrier of communication as well, because the problem that we used to have is that, I'm just focusing on marketing right now because I have it in my brain, is that our marketing team had to write like little snippets for our blog posts to be like, hey, read this blog post because it's cool. They didn't know exactly what they were about, and they were too scared of stealing the developers' time. Because, you know, the very expensive IT people, we cannot disturb them, and they always get so angry when they ask them things. There's something about the zone, I don't know. And just having a friendship, meeting each other at the coffee machine and being comfortable, asking them, like, hey, what's the blog post about? What is the key thought? Just improve the performance of the entire organization. There is the pictures of our trainers. So this is Dirk. He basically built the entire plan. I think he has like 75% of what he's doing at the company is something to do with organizing the trainee program. So he messages me 5 times if I finally locked in the dates that I'm free to do my trainings. And he organizes everything so, you know, it works out the way it does. He makes all of the plans. He communicates with the school, because the school dates are fixed, and we kind of have a company party here. I mean, a very important educational event. So that our trainees get the day off. He coordinates those projects. He looks at all of the presentations after the projects. He evaluates them. And he also goes like to trade fairs and is like, hey, we do training, come to us, we're cool. And stuff like that. That one here is Michael, and I'm not entirely sure what he does. It's a lot of different things, and he's supporting Dirk in everything he does. Yeah, there is to do. And another important part is, if you want to have trainees in Germany, if you want to do an Ausbildung, you have to have a certificate to be allowed to do that. And this certificate is being done together with all sorts of other people that want to do an Ausbildung. Or, yeah, do the Ausbildung. And this training course is hairdressers, IT people, woodworking people, everyone together. So you don't really have any technical content in this training for the trainers. But instead you learn about didactics, about how to take responsibility, how to take care of young people learning, how to do the planning. So the people that are actually training our trainees have at least some broad knowledge of how to interact with young people. And of course, there are some challenges as well. Remote work was one of the biggest challenges that we faced. And I don't think we found a good solution to that issue yet. Because having this distance of a screen, of not being constantly able to talk to each other, as a trainee, you have to have the courage to actually message your superior without being afraid, like, is he doing something? Is she busy? Can I? It doesn't work with remote work. So our solution, which is not a great solution, is that the trainees from the first and second year always have to be in the office, and there always has to be at least one person taking care of them with them as well. Another challenge is the public school system. I said it's a publicly funded school. You know, it's slow. It's Germany. There's a lot of process involved. So the students are still learning about like C++ as the new shit. The school gives a great basis, but it's not entirely up to date, and especially in tech, it's a difficult thing, so we have to pick up a lot of slack in the training courses afterwards. Most of the people that start a traineeship come directly from school. They're young people, and young people being young is difficult. Like they're teenagers in their early 20s, and they are still getting used to working full-time. And trainees cost money. They cost time, which is also money. But I feel like in the end, it's worth it to have like competent people that are well integrated. Those are challenges we have not entirely solved yet. And I will propose an open space later to discuss it, so please come join me. Let's find a solution together. But to sum it up, oh, wait, stop. There are also barriers. There are also different barriers that can be a challenge, because for our 17 people in Isinga, we have, I think, 9 different nationalities. Most of them started as trainees coming to Germany, learning German, barely speaking any English. And this is also a barrier that is very difficult to overcome. It is doable within the company, but at school. The school isn't German. The tests are in German. So studying a language and studying a subject at the same time, difficult. But I also want to talk about the chances to leave all of this on a positive note. Just to summarize, the connections to other people within your project, within your company, is incredibly valuable. The people are getting paid to learn. You have a university-like degree in the end, and you're getting paid for it. Not much, mind you, not much. It's enough for food and shelter. But you're getting paid to learn. You don't have to pay for school. And you basically have a degree afterwards. There is a really broad spectrum of knowledge for different departments, for different people, and everyone's on the same page, or at least a discussable page in the end. And yeah, it makes it easy to find the right place in the world, because you see so many different things, you see so many different jobs being performed and how it works, that for us, within our organization, it's no problem to switch your specialization. I trained to be a developer, and now I'm barely doing any developing for the last 3 years. I'm just out here giving trainings, talking to people, doing the community advocacy thing. And it was zero issue at all for me to switch from there to there. And like I said, we had a marketing person switch to be a technical person. And I feel like this is giving so much value to the people, giving them happiness, and therefore productivity. And yeah, that makes us all happy, doesn't it? So that was it. I would like to ask you to get training everyone, treat your employees with respect, and give them time to grow. Thank you very much.